Come on. Hey guys, Rainbow Pagan here. I've been trying to get this to go live. Finally it went live. Um, alright. This is Immortal Love. This is about a god and goddess, which are my personal matriarch and model goddess. I'm sorry, I must have said that wrong. All pagans basically everyone does not know everything. And Goddess God Anubis and Goddess Bassett are very popular in Egyptian tradition. Now below, I listed other videos. You could watch my videos, but I did do my research on my videos on the Egyptian pantheon. But you gotta admit, other people know more about what you do sometimes, and may have better info. So below is a link about Goddess Bassett. I think she did a great job. And then you got Goddess Anubis. Don't say that. God Anubis, which is listed below. Unfortunately, you had to read what they say there. No one talks to you. And then there's the Egyptian tree, which is very hard to trace the gods and goddesses back to the roots. First of all, my personal tree, okay? In the beginning, there was God Anubis, which is translated as one of the words for God, Wa. Now I know my speech impediment is bad. R-W, R-A. Okay, Wa. God Wa. Anyhow, he had children then. He had, the tree explains it differently, but this is my take on it, okay? He had children. He had Goddess Isis, Goddess Hathor, Goddess Nefertiti's, God Set, God Osiris. And I don't know if it's the Goddess Isis. But basically, those are 6 children. Oh yeah, Bassett. Forgot to mention. He had his daughter was Bassett. Now, in the tree, different trees, I could have got it wrong because in the beginning, in some of the research I did, Bassett was married to Pot, P-T-A-H, which they believe on that Egyptian tree was the creator of the universe. And the other Egyptian tree that I believe in and follow is, the tree of Ra. Now, they had children themselves. But anyhow, the little short story about Bassett, if you really want to, the Egyptian movie, Gods of Egypt, is pretty good, but it's not how it should be. It doesn't have Bassett in it. Anyhow, all the other gods and goddesses got married. And, except Bast. She wanted to stay with Ra. And if you look at the history, she was originally the lion-headed goddess, and then she was shown as the cat goddess later on. She protected Ra because every night he had to protect himself against a snake. Now, in the Egyptian movie, Gods of Egypt, it will show you why and what I'm talking about. But Bassett was there for him every night to protect him from it, because every time the sun goes down, the snake attacks him. And if that ever happens, that's the end of the universe. That's basically the end. That's how the pantheon of the Egyptians, and how we believe that would be the end times. So anyhow, she had him and did not want to leave Ra. She loved him so much, she stayed with him. And then Anubis was actually born of when Set destroyed and killed Osiris. well, first of all, Isis and Osiris had a son while Osiris was still alive. I mean, he was immortal, but anyhow, he was still alive. And when Isis and Osiris were together, they had a son named Horus, which you can check my other videos for that, which is God of the heavens, which is replacing God Wa. God Wa is like the top of the line, number one. So he basically took over his job, except Wa still does his duty every night, like I said. And when Osiris got killed by Set of jealousy because Ra did not give him the power to be able to reproduce. So he was sterile, and he was jealous of his brother Osiris. So he killed Osiris. And then the story goes that Osiris went to the underworld. And when they were in the underworld, Nephthys wanted to have a child, and she was married to Set. So somehow, I may be getting this wrong, guys, that Nephthys made an agreement with Isis somehow that they would take DNA from Osiris and have a son named Anubis. Now, Anubis, this might have happened before Osiris was killed or after. I'm not sure. You can always do research and back me up on this. But Anubis found his parts, his whole body, because Set destroyed him into the seven winds. That if you're pegging, you know what that is. And Anubis went and found all his body parts and put him back together. And that's how you see the basic form of Osiris. Alright, now since we got that out of the way, Goddess Anubis then became God of the underworld, or God. Well, actually, Osiris is God of the underworld. Anubis is basically God of abomination, embalmment, when they wrap them like mummies, and also in charge of bringing you to the afterlife, the underworld. He's kind of like the Reaper, he brings you to the underworld, make sure you're protected, and guides you to where you gotta go. And the hall's marked. That's a whole nother video. So on that video, like I said, Bassett never wanted to leave Raw. And for some reason, her sisters, well, I'll be truthful, I really don't know how they met. But in this fiction that you see, all the stories, they always say that Anubis was married to Bassett. And as you can see in the photos, if you Google Bassett and Anubis, they were really true lovers. They love each other so much. They are total polar opposites. Now, you guys know I have a speech impediment, so I apologize for this. They are totally polar opposites. Anubis was also the protector of the West, which was called the Deadlands, the land of the, underworld. And Bassett was goddess of the north. If I'm getting this right, I could be wrong. And she was the one up there, the protected, them. I'm not sure. It's like I said, I'm doing the best I can here out of memory. Although the other guys can explain it better. So they fell in love, and they love each other so internally that every Egyptian people mainly will say that Anubis and Bassett really love each other. I can't explain how it is being connected to Anubis and Bast. When you're finding an Egyptian god or goddess, your matriarchs, they pick you. If you're drawn to the Egyptian path, like in the beginning, I was drawn to Greek and Egyptian, and then the Egyptian took over. So I was drawn to Egyptian, and then at first I thought that I would pick Isis and Ra, but to explain it, it's kind of weird. Like, I didn't bind with them as much. I couldn't feel them as much. So when I found out about Bassett and Anubis, for some reason they just tug at my heartstrings, and I did not know that they were married at that time. I did not know that they were two as one. Like I said, they're polar opposites, but they attract. Opposites attract. That's the whole thing. And Bass left for to be with Anubis, but she still does protect him at night. So Anubis and Bassett are internal levels, and I've always had a connection to them, even before I knew the whole story about them. And when you find your connection about Anubis and Bassett, you will get it. And can you imagine having your true love with you for eternity? You know, because the gods can't really die. The Egyptian gods are still around, and the Bible, please, man, we don't go by that. That's Christian religion. The pyramids, I believe, personally, were made by the gods, because if you do research, it would take like 1,000,000 people or something like that, millions of people, just to move like 2 stones. It would take 5 years. And how would they stack them so high up over and again? There's lots of research out there. Some people say Arians, some people, yes, the Jews did it. I don't know, stories like that. But my belief is that the gods did it. You know, it's their temple. If you watch Immortal, which is another movie that I had out and I did a video on, they believe that they came, you know, from wherever they are, up high, basically. Um, and the underworld is not like you think. The underworld is where the dead is. It doesn't matter if you're good or, you know. It's basically like judgment, of hell, if you would call it a certain way, that if you're Mott's Federal weighs judgment. If your heart um, is balanced, equal with the Federal, you're reincarnated. Now, this is my personal belief, but in the Egyptian belief, you will go to the Summerland. You will be granted Summerland, which is basically the pagan's way of heaven. Um, Now, this happened all before Christianity. And then, if your heart outweighs the Federal, like the Federal weighs more than the heart and drops down, that means that your heart, your soul is fed to a creature, which is, I forgot, is a creature of sets that will devour you for all eternity. So, yeah. Well, anyhow, there's other stories about that. I may go into different stories that I hear or feel about doing. Again, I want to thank all my subscribers. Thanks to you, I'm able to be a YouTube partner. But I can't, unfortunately, because I would lose my SSDI, which I'm physically not capable to walk because of my disabilities. And I make up too much money in my disability. If I would even take in $1 extra of my income, I would lose everything. So I can't survive on YouTube videos. So, again, thank you, and may the gods and goddesses bless you all.